Welcome everybody back to Boost Emotion, guys. And today, let's talk about it. Pretty much, I can sit there and say it. You can get GTR Power out of your Infiniti Q50, Q60, VR30. Guys, let's go. Let's jump into it. First thing, shout out to my whole Boost Emotion family. I appreciate you guys for your support. It's been so long. I know I don't upload as much videos, but I actually wanted to make an update to this video. This is kind of a price breakdown, but also pretty much telling you that you can make GTR similar power. Now, here's a disclaimer. We're talking about GTRs on stock turbos in the 85 and supporting mods. We're not talking about pure turbo or upgraded OEM turbo or Nismo turbo GTRs, which will make over, I believe, close to maybe 750 to 800 wheel horsepower. It's still very close in power, but pretty much stock turbo GTR makes about 650 average, close to 700 on stock turbos if you want to really push it. But of course, if you want to go higher power, you go with upgraded turbos. Anyways, so we already know that the Infiniti Q50 has been out for, let's just say, almost, it is 2024. So it's been about 8 years this car has been out. And in the last year, we've been pretty much pushing above the 700 wheel horsepower territory with mods such as Z1 Motorsports turbos, and fueling system upgrades, and of course exhaust and intake and cooling upgrades, pretty much, right? Now, I'm going to break down some prices that I've listed here. These brands aren't sponsored or anything. I'm just going to give you a price breakdown. Also, I'm going to actually take a quick video from Go Racebox. Shout out to Go Racebox. Shout out to St. Alex and the whole Go Racebox team. Remember, guys, my Q50, Q60 was actually sponsored by Hussein and Alex and the whole Go Racebox team some years ago. So I still show love and much love to these guys. You can also go follow their YouTube channel. It's very useful, informative information. I love channels that give you information. It ain't all about the looks. It's about the information. That's what makes it quality. All right. So let's quickly take a look at this video, and I'm going to go to the cost breakdown. Break it down right now. Talking about the different final high boost.
Okay. All
right. So before he gets to the actual breakdown, I'm actually dropped that. He's gonna go to different stages. Of course, everything is gonna be on E here to make it quick. But as you can see, pretty much the more power they make is based on timing and the amount of boost that they're running. Right now, before we get into the numbers, I want to do the course breakdown now before I allow him to go through everything he's going to go through. Now, this is not necessarily this car's setup, but from what the internet is saying, and shout out to Go Racebox for breaking it down. If you want to make over 700 wheel horsepower on a stock VR30 motor and stock transmission. Of course, you can build a transmission if you choose to, right? But they usually keep the torque down for the transmission for transmission longevity, and the torque down so you don't, spin a rod or bend a rod, whatever, or spin a bearing or bend a rod. All right. So this is what I completely compiled for you guys, right? First thing, stage 3, low pressure fuel pump. You can pick this from almost any brand. I could recommend Spool FX or AMS or I think XID. All these companies make the fueling upgrades because without the fueling upgrades, there's no point of getting the turbos, right? So 1050, that's 1050 or $1,150, right? Ethanol sensor with fuel filter, that's $600. 2050 injectors, that's $1,600. Stage 3 fuel pump, right? This is high pressure fuel pump. Now low pressure, that's going to be $2,300. Now to go back to the regular stage 3 low pressure fuel pump, understand you want that to be a dual fuel pump, especially at this higher power levels. Of course, you can go with spool, but then also AMS came out with their bucket style design low pressure fuel pump upgrade, which is a little bit more money. I think it's like $1,300, but just want to put that in as an asterisk. Then you have Z1 Motorsports turbos, which are about $5,300 for the all-wheel drive, and I think $5,000 for the rear-wheel drive. Right? I don't know why you guys keep getting rear-wheel drive cars, but that's just my opinion. I mean, what's the point of getting an all-wheel drive? I mean, a rear-wheel drive Q50 when you can get all-wheel drive and never have to deal with traction issues? I'm just saying, like, it just makes the most sense. All right. 3-inch catback exhaust. Now, this could be an MBRP exhaust, but this is on the more cheaper end. Of course, there's more expensive exhaust such as AAM Competition, which also sponsored the Q60 a couple years ago. Theirs is about almost double this price, but the quality is better. 3-inch full downpipes. It seems like they're roughly right around that Catless downpipes. It seems like they're roughly around that $700, $800 territory. Of course, you can go with open air engine bay air style intakes. That's $300, $400. That's roughly where those price of the intakes are. Now, heat exchangers. This is the last part I think is very important. You need to get heat exchangers. Most of them are around the same price, that $400 to $500 territory. There's plenty of different brands that you can go with. The one that was sponsored on the channel was AM Competition. And I would recommend, because you're running larger turbos and you really care about power the most, you want to get the best cooling. I would actually recommend a fender tank. Z1 Motorsports and AMS still make theirs, and I believe that's an additional, I think, $400 or $500. But Z1 Motorsports make a kit where you can get a fender tank, a heat exchanger, and an additional coolant pump. Remember, you guys are making more power now, so not saying that these turbos are more hot or anything like that, but you want the maximum amount of coolant efficiency. So I would recommend the additional pump if you don't have like a Red Sport or 3.0T Sport, because it moves that coolant around a lot more. Some people might sit there and say, get the highest, the biggest AMS heat exchanger. I honestly think that the combo of the smaller heat exchanger, I don't mean the OEM one, the regular heat exchanger upgrade, and the coolant pump is way more fluid capacity to the system, rather than just go get the expensive heat exchanger when you still didn't really so much. It still is additional cooling because it adds more cooling capacity. But other than that, and the flow is probably a little bit better, but when you add the pump, the fender tank, and the regular heat exchanger or the regular upgraded heat exchanger, I think it's the best combo, honestly. And when I compile those totals before taxes, before installation, it's a little bit pricey. So that came out to about $14,000. Now understand, this is before taxes. Depending on what state you live in and how much you pay, of course, this is going to go above $15,000 in taxes. And then also you got to talk about installation. Of course, you have to drop the engine to put the Z1 Motorsport turbos in. I think most of these other modifications, if you are pretty handy on your own, you can do these on your own if you're a handy person. So that saves you a lot of money on installation. But if you're not handy and you make some mistakes, it could be costly too. I do recommend that. I am saying that. Now, there's probably a couple of things here I'm still missing, but this is pretty much just the core things you need. Of course, there's other things such as a fuel pressure sensor that may be needed, and a couple other things that may pop up. Or also, some people might do like air-to-air in this video, where you might choose to not do the heat exchanger system at all and do air-to-air system. But to be quite honest with you, it's cheaper to do the air-to-water system here. Well, you can do the upgraded air to water intercoolers, but that's an additional price. Or you can just do the heat exchanger, fender tank, and pump if you don't have the additional secondary pump. I recommend that at the minimum. Still, of course, more cooling is always better, but everyone doesn't always want to spend so much more money. But if you like the jewels, you like to be the guy who has that stuff in your car, it's perfectly fine. Just know that's going to bring up your price close to $20,000 invested in those additional components, right? So, but yeah, most of this stuff could be installed by yourself if you just know how to turn a wrench or turn a bolt or turn a screw, pretty much. And yeah, you're going to be making over 700 wheel horsepower, of course, on E85. If you are not around E85, I want to be a disclaimer. If you're around 93, these turbos, from what it seems like from the dynos, you're only going to be making about mid 500 wheel horsepower on 93. I would like to see, I know it's mostly a low boost map on 93. I guess they don't really want it to run any higher on 93 because of spark knock or anything like that. But I do wonder what a 19 PSI or 18 PSI map on Z1 Motorsports 93 would look like. You know, I do kind of wonder, would it be more closer to the higher 500 wheel, close to 600 wheel torques? That'd be kind of dope, I think. But then it still wouldn't be really anyways, I'm going to just break them down quickly in the video, and I'm going to say my last 2 cents. All right, let me stop playing.
It's very warm in here. It's almost 102 degrees.
Yes.
Yep.
And the temperature is really hot, and this is Texas heat. So in DA such as New York City, or in the wintertime when it's a lot cooler air, this car is going to be probably making like 760. The torque is going to increase because the air is a lot denser. But in the hot air, the car makes 740. Yeah, it's crazy. And this was an air-to-air setup. You know what I'm saying? So when it's a lot cooler, this car is going to make probably another 10, 20, maybe 30 additional wheel torques just because of the denser air.
Okay, so this car is a pretty basic Z1 setup. This one is air-to-air, but it's got all the other supporting mods, injectors, low pressure, high pressure, the boost sensors, and pretty much everything else you need to make 700 plus. This one does have the AMS, the new AMS dual low pressure setup with the basket and everything, and it has worked phenomenally. The car is down to the last run. It made 740 wheel horsepower. The car is so fantastic pump. It has wheel torque, so pretty flat power band from 5,000 and up with less than 600 wheel torque. Then on the low boost map at 21 psi, it made 631 wheel horsepower and 552 wheel torque.
I want to put a asterisk right there. He's pretty much saying a low boost E85 map, right, is making about 631 wheel horsepower. That is all pure stage 2 turbos area. So officially, I can say it in this video from being in this community and watching for so long. Pures are still super dope. I get it. But if you're looking at the power-wise, of course, just the idea of the power, it seems that Z1 Motorsports is giving you that same power and more headroom. So I don't really see the sense of still buying pure turbos. I know some people will probably watch and say, shut up, Boost, you know what you're talking about. They spool up a lot quicker. I get it. But they're more, I would say they're about the same price of a Z1 Motorsports, and they're not ball bearing. So I see the additional, I see the reason why the Z1 Motorsports would just be better. Reliability, of course, reliability because they're ball bearing, the additional headroom because they can make more power, and on a low boost, they make about the same amount of power, as Pures. Because Pures have to push more PSI just to make this about this amount of power. They have to really push Pures hard. You know what I'm saying? Let me continue.
There's one thing I want to note as well on that is that this mid boost map is relatively conservative. We limit boost to about 21 psi, but we also limit timing. That's running the same timing as the 740 horsepower one. So nice. It's conservative on both standpoints. That's why it gives us this nice flat power band.
So that means he left the timing the same, just lowered the boost. That's it. So they could have did more aggressive timing at 21 psi, made additional power, but they said, no, we already have a conservative timing for the 740, so we're just going to lower the boost and see where it runs at there. Because, of course, the higher boost means the temps of the charger temps are a lot higher. That's pretty much it. So everything's conservative across the line. Sorry.
Whereas with the higher boost one, whereas torque starts to fall off, because we're increasing boost across the way, that's how we keep the torque flat between the two with running the same timing. And then obviously the other great thing about these turbos is just the variability and boost control. Then at a 14 flat PSI, we're able to make a flat 418 wheel horsepower, 415 wheel torque as a daily map. So that is just
very nice.
Super conservative. You have a nice, still safe, manageable daily map if you wanted to really limit the power, if you have anyone else drive the car, stuff like that. This car came in with ethanol in there, so we don't have any 93 runs. The daily map's going to be the same on 93 as it is on ethanol. We just don't have the high boost 93 that you normally see with the 4 runs that we typically post.
All right, so pretty much I'm gonna give my final words here. First thing, shout out to Go Racebox, shout out to Hussein, Alex, shout out to these guys. It's crazy how Hussein started a whole company from just tuning. Like, that's why I'm so happy for a lot of people in this platform that I've known across the years, and I'm just so happy that a lot of their businesses are flourishing. Now, at the end of the day, $15,000 in parts. The car is about, I'll be honest with you, you can pick up a 2016 VR30 for about $10,000 to $15,000 with like 90, 80,000 miles. So it is quite, you can say $30,000 invested. Yes, $30,000 invested, you'll have a 700 wheel horsepower car. Of course, reliability be questionable on a higher mileage VR30. Same thing for a higher mileage transmission on the VR30. So, of course, people would want to get a cheaper one, a lower mileage. But even then, it's still questionable. But all in all, and of course, we're talking about invested, right? You're not really investing in these cars, they depreciate. But if you choose to buy a VR30, of course, you're financing it. You're going to spend additional $15,000 in parts before installation. I think all in all, it's going to come to about $20,000 because they have to drop the motor. If you have to drop the motor and you have a company just do all the installation of all this stuff, I think it's going to be about $20,000 invested. And then finally, you have to get the tuning, which could be another $1,000 to $2,000. So I think about $20,000 to $22,000 invested with taxes, installation to bring your VR30, Q50, Q60 up to 700 wheel horsepower. This should apply similar to the VR30 in the Nissan Z, but this is mainly Q50, Q60 information. And yeah, and if the car is about $15,000, yeah, it's about $30,000 to $35,000. Of course, there's ways to make this cheaper here, right? There is ways. I still I wouldn't recommend cheaping out on some of this stuff. Like, yeah, you could get the more affordable parts, but it's just, you're pushing a lot more power, and you want things just to be a better quality. And exhaust and intakes and stuff like that, I don't think you have to stress out too much. Just make sure that it flows properly. Cooling system, I think you should aim for the most amount of capacity of coolant. That's why I said the fender tank with the heat exchanger and the pump. And for the turbos, of course, they're where they are. But the cost savings really could come from the fueling system. I would never buy like used injectors because you just never know. They use injectors. In my opinion, I think it's probably better to buy a used high pressure fuel pump. If someone's selling it, you can save some money there if you buy some of that stuff cheaper, and maybe even the low pressure fuel pump. These things usually don't go bad as quick as like an injector can go bad. If you guys get what I'm trying to say, and of course the flex fuel kit, a lot of stuff could be purchased for a little bit cheaper if you choose to try to bring down the cost savings. But I don't think by much. Maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 you might save if you try to find someone selling it locally or used on the market. But other than that, turbos, exhaust, all that stuff, you have to purchase it regardless. I'm saying that stuff could be purchased used too, the cooling mods. So, I mean, if I had to do this on Boost on the budget, I might put this on, you know what? I'm going to put this on my Bring the Boost podcast. I'm going to drop it again as on the podcast section of this boostinmotion channel. And what I'm going to sit there and say is this. You can probably cut the price of a lot of these components by maybe a third to a half, some of it, if you can buy a lot of it used. I still think you should buy the injectors new. If it was up to me, this is Boost on a budget. This is how I used to be. Now I'm not boosting the budget no more. I got an E63 and a BMW 740. I have two high-end luxury cars at the same time. I can't drop both at the same time. I don't know what I'm doing anymore, right? But I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm serious. But if it was on boosting the budget, this is the things I would buy new. Hear me out, right? If I can find some stuff in the used market, but this is what I would buy new. Injectors, I would definitely buy new, right? That's number one thing I'll buy new. Z1 turbos, I will buy new. Period. That's it. I would definitely buy those new. If I could get the low pressure fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump, and even flex fuel kit on the used market, I'll definitely do so. The exhaust, I think 3-inch exhausts you can probably definitely find on the market. Once again, you could probably get that for a little cheaper, but MBRP is pretty cheap already. But if you can find someone selling a higher quality used one, let's say the AM competition for about $1,200, and it still saves you, not really, but like it saves you money because you save money off the total price of that part because it might sound better. But if you can find one cheaper, an MBRP for even cheaper online, 3-inch, do so. Same thing for catless downpipes, do so. And the heat exchanger and fender tank and stuff, if you find that cheaper, do so. So you can probably cost save this from that $15,000 just in parts and taxes, because you're not gonna pay taxes on that. You might be able to bring this down to $10,000 or maybe even $8,000. $8,000 to $10,000. So that might save you a lot of money. That saves you about $5,000. And if you could do a lot of stuff yourself, that saves you an installation, except for the turbos. I'm sorry, guys. You have to drop a motor, And then from there, you can go with shout to I'm gonna drop all the tuning guys, Zero Motorsports, Go Racebox, Sonic Tune, AMS, and there's a couple others out there who are really good tuners for this platform that's been around for at least 5 years now. Just in this platform alone, definitely. And yeah, you can probably, just thinking about it, if you can bring down the parts down to like $8,000 to $10,000 invested or purchasing parts. And you do a lot of installation on your own, man, you could probably have a 700 plus wheel horsepower Q50, Q60 for about $11,000, $12,000 invested. And this is a lot of stuff that you could probably put on a credit card. That's not bad to make payments. Shoot, thinking about it, if you guys don't spend cash on a lot of this, you just do a lot of stuff credit, damn, you could have a 700 wheel horsepower car for pretty cheap with pretty much nothing invested. Anyways, let me stop ranting. That was just me adding my little boost in motion or boost on the budget opinion. But I'm still very proud of the VR30. I do think it is expensive to modify if you purchase a lot of this stuff new, because the price in parts is about the price of the car. I think that's, to me, I start looking at like, is this really cost efficient? I get it, the parts cost what they cost, but you're spending about the same. I mean, there's so much stuff I'm still not including here. Suspension, wheels, aesthetic modifications. There's so much other things you can spend money on. So it's like, yeah, this could be quite expensive. And if I could compare this to, let's say, another car that costs about the same amount of money, a 2015 Mustang GT. It's a $20,000 car, 5.0. You could spend $5,000 to $8,000 on a supercharger, which will give you the fuel pump, and it will give you the injectors, and you'll get tuning for relatively cheap, and it'll make 700 on like a starter kit blower, like 700 wheel, and that car, and once again, you can store a lot of the stuff on your own, but that's of course a V8. But at the end of the day, if you like a Q50, I get it. But if you're looking for power and speed and certain things, then I see why other people go to other platforms. And if I want to even include it and compare it to, let's say, an M340 or the B58, yeah, the B58 could be expensive place to modify these cars too. But there's ways to. They only got about one turbo and one one high pressure fuel pump. It's very similar, but it's still about the cheaper. Same thing. I've seen their kits that they could buy their turbo kits for about the same price, $5,000 to $6,000, and you'll even make even more power. But anyways, if you guys want to see a B58 cost breakdown versus a VR30 cost breakdown, I haven't done that in years. Let me know. Tap in B58 versus VR30 or VR30 versus V58 pricing, whatever. Comment, let me know, and I'll go through that, because I also own a B58 now. I have a 2021 740i. there's a B58 motor. I got a JB4 on it right now. And that's it. I'm chilling. I ain't doing nothing else more because that car is not supposed to be a car for speed. But I'm not driving around with 300 horsepower. Okay? I need another additional 100 horsepower. Can't be out here losing the JB4 Q50s like that. Outside of that, guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. I really do miss making a lot of these videos and talking on video. And in my opinion, for the people who made it to the last part is I really enjoyed making videos talking about the boost news and stuff like that because some people got enjoyed hearing updates about the automotive community. And it's funny to see that I should remain consistent at it because there's other YouTubers who stop necessarily modifying cars and just start talking about the news and their platform every day. And now they're a lot bigger and huger. And I'm like, damn, I should have just remained consistent. You know, even though you guys may have not liked it, maybe other people that would have came to the channel would have saw it and it would have grew a slightly different audience over time. So that's my fault dealing with the certain things that I was dealing with in my life. That's my fault. It is what it is. So outside of that, guys, you have good morning, good afternoon, good night. You can add me at boostinmotion on IG. Otherwise than that, I really appreciate it. I would love to get back in the VR30 gang. I really would. I said I would do a Z. The prices are still too expensive. Yeah, but Boost, you got an E63 and a 740. I get it, but that road drive life, the C63, I love that car, but it still leaves so much on the table. And I think the same thing with the Z. So well, just cop another VR30 with a VR30 in it. But anyways, we'll see. Outside of that, guys, I appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Thank you.